Salut tout le monde! My name is Badboy23 and today Dexter present to you Ambre. A lot of things happened in the previous episode. Lot of gross things I won't mention. Then apparently she realized something. Then apparently she lay down on the stuff, and we begin all over again, the same dialogue, the same reading as the first episode. And now we are with this. Normally it was where Ambre was sitting, so let's read. Made out a silhouette of a little girl sitting on a swing with her head brown. Tears were rolling down her cheek. Afraid of startling her, he approached slowly and took a close look. He was indeed standing in front of his wife, Ambre Mallory, who used to be so charming. She was still pretty, but seems to have aged prematurely, while look after look her and her brightened but her long hair to a point where you couldn't tell her age anymore. With that appearance she could have been an old lady, yet she was barely in her 30s, like Tristan, who didn't appear any younger. Back and looking. Wait. So I'm little confused now. You were 30 when you meet the girl. Now the girl is 30, maybe you are 30 again? Okay, it's a story pretty weird now. Apparently Umbrella grew up. Since she used a lot of makeup, maybe she grew older. Eyes more lifeless than ever. She was crying. Back home, looking haggard, eyes more lifeless than ever. Wait, her clothes were tremble. She was either a coat or a scarf, and she bore several scratches as if she had been in a fight. As she rolled at the floor again, as she harmed herself, regardless, she had most likely gotten her dirty anyway. The park was completely deserted. She seems to have been there for a while. She must have run away several hours ago, probably in the early afternoon. Otherwise, she wouldn't have been in a state where she could be able to cry. She wouldn't have stayed motionless like a doll, unable to show a test sign of life, until finally she come back to her sense. For a second, Tristan morally felt the temptation to abandon her there, to leave her to her fate, but very quickly he mentally chastised himself. He couldn't do that. She was his wife, he loved her, he had to take care of her no matter what. But even so, sometimes he almost wished she would get lost for good. Okay, but she disappeared, so he wouldn't have to live through his endless cycle again. His conscience protested that he would feel too guilty, but he would be able to forgive him. There was no way out. He had to live with his burden. So he placed himself in front of her and asked her softly, "Is something wrong?" At first his wife seems not to hear him. She croaked on his snub, incubed, and snubbered. He was not sure of it. She had forgotten everything once again. Patiently, Tristan Mallory stroked her hair and repeated, "Why are you crying? What happened?" It took her several minutes to calm down a bit, but eventually she wiped her tears and answered with faint voice interrupted by snob. "I don't know. I don't think I've lost something important. I think I'm lost something important. Very important, but I can't remember what it was." Tristan Mallory smiled, feeling a mixture of compassion and pity. Always that nagging obsession, that truth. "Let me take a break and I come back." Okay, everything is good for me. It seems so lost, so vulnerable. He wanted to hold her so tightly that her sadness would melt away, and at the same time, within him a voice was telling him that he should not be so forceful, that he should not take advantage of her weakness. Ambre did not recognize him any more after all. He had to wait, even if the desire to ease his own loneliness was suffocating. The woman he loved was there, just in front of him, and he could not do so much as touch her. So he tried to look confided, to look reassuring, yet in front of his sad little girl, he did not feel confident at all. "Are you all alone? Where are your mommy and your daddy?" "I don't know." "What? Do you live far away from here?" "I don't know." "What is your name?" "Ambre." "Well, Ambre, you can stay here out in the wind. You're going to You can't stay here out in the wind. You're going to catch a cold eventually, and you don't want to get sick, do you?" "No, I hate being sick." "Wait, what?" See, you got to go warm yourself up somewhere. I'll be night soon. It will be night soon, but I don't know where to go." "In that case, what do you think about going to my place? It's not far away from here, and it's be a much better place to sleep than this wing." Ambre see worry, but she had no other choice but to follow him. He gently reached a hand to her, and for the first time she lifted her eyes. They were washing out, blurring with tears and hesitant. Those were the eyes of a little girl stuck in a woman's body. The eyes of a woman haunted by her little girl obsession. The eyes of a trapped person. He thought it is good idea to force a smile and appear reassuring. Even with the fatigued Trillian, Morrigan showed the most convincing smile he could and took her hand, so fine, so frail, to help her get to her feet. The young girl stepped away, wobbling a week. She had probably not eaten all day long. Carefully, he led her to his place while making sure she wouldn't trip. A 30-year-old man removed his coat. Wait, but if she is old, how can you still be 30? I don't get it. What? How can you still be 30 years old? And she go old. And shut the front door being them. Make yourself at home. I'll cook you something. Passing through the kitchen, he turned the light so that his falls would look less gloomy. It's the same phrase at the beginning. While searching his fridge, he's going to cook noodles, I think, if I remember. Reach for a potential meal, he pressed stop several glances over the counter. In the living room, Ambre was still walking around, a bit whipped, still on the defensive. She explored this new environment by looking around and admiring the oh, but it's the same thing at the beginning. Unfortunately, she did not find much to pique her interest. It was a bland house, almost too bland. There were no clues about the occupant life. The picture of a happy day were carefully hidden. Taking advantage of trying distraction pack of noodles, I knew it. She escaped to the hallway, trying to find the bathroom, revealing. She found quickly enough, and before returning to the hallway, he noticed that all the doors were whipped open, except for one. Strange, so she's going to a frightened tomb where Tristan Mallory store the corpse of a former wine. The little girl pulled. In the kitchen, Tristan Smith, he was cooking Umbre's favorite meal, but his eyes were suddenly itchy. Shooting down, he noticed his wife's absence. She must have found her home. He mentally scrubbed. His hand was me- me- mechanically preparing the step necessary to prepare the meal, but his mind was elsewhere. Little by little, he slowly slowed down until he stopped completely still as a robot. He let himself fall against the wall. God, what have I done to deserve this? When is she going to come back? When is she going to wake up? His face in his hand, he is crying silently in the empty living room. Will my tears reach you one day? When he felt better, he headed toward the forbidden room and caught Ambre playing with stuffed animal. He gazed softly. I suppose but I can't do anything. He flew to reassure himself without a word when he went to sit next to her. On the bed, the young woman was moving a stuffed animal hand making. He was narrating stuffed animal, so the same thing. Suddenly, he got mad at the so and don't roll the floor. As punishment, he spent a crown in the corner. She finally noticed his presence. That evening, Tristan Mallory and met little Ambre as she wolfed down her food, half amused, half distracted. Seeing her so happy, shooted his head a little, but at the same time, it was heartbreaking. He remembered the peaceful day, every long gone with difficulty, but he still remembered them. He remembered that beautiful young lady, her adorable smile, her cheerfulness, her promise in front of Umbrella overflowing enthusiasm. Tristan Mallory could not help but smile faintly, almost pitifully. Yes, that's it, he kept telling himself, as if to reassure himself. All I'm doing is to keep her around until she remembers who she is and what she lost. Waiting for her to remember, I've never managed to someday. Tristan Morrison could not be an ordinary man with an ordinary life if his daily life hadn't changed dramatically a few years ago due to a real event. Since that day he was a victim of interfax an ordeal that seems never end. He had been so happy, so fulfilled with a woman he loved, a woman he had married, Ambre so charming, who he had sworn his life to. Ambre had gone mad. He had never realized how obsessed she was about having child until their doctor announced to them that she was sterile, an issue that seems resolvable to him, but to her it was as if she had been dealt to death penalty. There could have been there wait sorry for that. They could have put themselves in the hand of science or just give up on that project altogether to make anyone. They could have been satisfied with their everyday life, but not for her. Ambre wasn't willing to let her little girl dream go, to change a coma of an idyllic fairy tale she was promised. She was in need. She had to go that way and that way only. Then the pressure she put on herself had the upper hand. She could not be perfect. She could not confront herself with exactitude to all those assured norms imposed to her. Something in her head, like a fragile thread, broke. She had an emotional breakdown right in front of her husband. Broodingly eyes, she drove in one go into a kind of insanity, as sudden as it was violent, from which she did not want to return. Refused to face reality, she escaped for a long dream, a long nightmare, where she became untouchable. Ambre, reserved to childhood, reverted to childhood, where everything was easier, where everything was still possible. She did not recognize her husband anymore, or did not want to recognize him. So he had to pretend not to know her each time, tame her each time, until she would have a new breakdown and everything would rest again. He had to try to make her happy and help her get better each time, even if it meant bending to her every will, even if it meant living in a world of pretend, even if it meant acquiring love on his path. During this cycle, one more intrigue, Ambre took advantage of her. Oh, she had found a key to the stuff. Inside was a big leather notebook. Treasure she dropped in and opened it. It was a photo album spread on the page, bright smile of a tender gesture. Going through a picture, dressed soberly and tastefully. The same thing, but that caught her eyes and was a specific picture. The young wearing a suit. When? Oh yeah, it's the same thing. What are you looking at? She screwed and closed it to see what my wife looked like. Didn't you? She answered in a shaky voice, guilty. Yes. Are you going to? Of course not. I'm just would not prefer that you did not see it. Why the same thing? She liked that story very much. Ryan seems to breathe, get young, and when she left, where to? Far away to this place where I can't reach her anymore. She's dead. could imagine his suffer. Could anyone imagine what it feels like to be in his shoes? To see that you love have one can't even recognize you anymore, that she had forgotten everything about you, about your relationship. When Ambre was a little girl struck in a woman's body, asked him why he was crying. He wanted to scream, because I love you, because you were so happy to we were happy together, because I can't live without you, because I need you presence, your affection, because I'm all alone, because you're my wife, the woman I love. I beg of you, come back to me, get a hold of yourself and snap out of it. But it was useless. He had already tried to shake her, to talk to her like she was his wife, but if he did, she would remain terrified, then would move away from him. She would cry, telling him he shouldn't hurt her. So he gave up. He stopped trying to get his role back. He kept pretending, and his suffering grew worse day after day, like a sleep disease trying to consume him further. Now the story good. Sad. Mainly pity. That's all I'm feeling right now, pity. Fake a smile. Forget about yourself. Don't think about anything other than reassuring her. How could he go on like that without being worn out? Tristan Mallory was no Superman. He was often on the verge of losing it. He despaired to see no progress even, no hope for healing. Would Ambre ever return to normal? He did not believe that anymore. He'd become too disillusioned. One evening when he had felt escape, especially woke up, he dared to yell at the young lady who was doing her best to please him. He immediately regretted it, but the deed was done. Umbrella's voice trembling dangerously. Wheeling getting close, he noticed her hand was shaking frenetically. Eyes wide open, shaking in tears, she exploded. I'm sorry, I just want you to love me. I want you to look at me. Why do you only look through me? I am not good enough, is that it? I will never be as good as she was, will I? She but Umbrella, who are you talking about? Grandfather Young held her, his arm around. No, he truly could not understand. He could not understand such instant and sudden snub. He only loved one person in the world, only one. How could she believe for a second that she had been beaten by someone else? Reassured by his gesture, Amber wanted to explain everything. Your wife, I can see that her departure left you very sad. I wanted to bring a smile back to your face. I wanted to take her place so you would forgive about her. For a split second, Riley and Morgan have breathless. It was surreal. He could pinch himself to make sure he wasn't dreaming, not pain in his chest, but too pitiful grave in him. Ambre looked up at a little girl dream, was becoming jealous of herself, and she was trying to surpass her happy alter ego of the past. She was trying to destroy herself from her husband's memories as if to rewrite the past, like some kind of conclusion suicide, con unconscious suicide. How could he answer such a declaration? How could he find the right word? I get it, I think. I think I get the story. Okay, I get the whole story now. At the end, I will make a conclusion. Catching his breath with difficulty, the 13-year-old man took Ambre by the shoulder and looked in her eyes from a long time. He had to wake her up, he had to make her realize, he had to think of a way to tell her. After a bright sign, he affirmed, "Listen, I will never be able to forgive my wife. Alright, it's impossible. But that doesn't mean I don't want you. It's the exact opposite actually. You're very dear to me. Ambre, you hear me? I need you. You already have a place. So please stop crying. Don't make it even harder than it is for me." The younger child dripped her tears, and her fearful changed to adorable naive impression. She looked sincerely despaired. Despaired. "You're still okay with me? What made you think I'd abandon you, huh?" "Nothing. It's just that you seem to love her so much. I'm a bit jealous." "Why is that?" "I don't know." What When I look at those pictures, I can't help but tell myself I must absolutely make you happy. I think I love you." Young felt all courage and determination. He had worked up melting away overnight, and he starting snubbing as well. Did she recognize him? Just a little. Was that a sign from her subconscious? Had she finally got a glimpse of herself? "But I love you too. I love you for so long. I love you so much it makes me sick." "For real? You're not treating me like a kid?" "Of course not." "Then prove it." "What do you mean?" "Show me, regard me as a true man, that you really love me. Ambre seems dead set on it, so Tristan softly kissed her lips. The warm pleasure, blah blah blah, the same thing as before. Okay, the same thing. She was here, so close so far, within a finger reach. He only had to close his eyes and believe in his dream. The illusion smiled faintly at him, at his lightmate. He embraced her. If you only knew how much I love you. When Tristan ran or crept through the window, Ambre was proudly asleep, lying on top Tristan. Atop Tristan's still warm body. Eyes surrounded by dark circles, the weight of regret, the fatigue he couldn't get rid of. He stared at her with a small smile on his face. It was just a dream, wasn't it? When you'll wake up, you'll be a child again, right? The only answer he got was a light glowing softly by much a sincere face. He left a kiss on his face cheek. As soon as he did, the sleep lips spread and formed a happy smile. I wonder what you're dreaming about, say. Won't you invite me over there? Tristan Mallory was wearing an infernal circle of gold. His braid in the permanent cacophony. One more unbeknown to her, he mimicked the fake wedding ceremony, a fake joy, to please her. Never again would the fresh and innocent smile of the picture return. The masquerade drew until Ambre started to ask to have a try again and discovered the truth one way or another, which would invariably make her plunge into madness as her obsession was so strong. To encounter those number lapses, the 13-year-old man often went to the hospital with his wife to meet the psychiatrist. I hate this word. This word is psychology, I think. Is in charge of her to review possible change. So Tristan, how Ambre lately? Has her condition improved a little? Not yet. Doctor frowned compassionately. He had been in charge of the Mallory case for some time now, and he felt particularly powerless in the face of such an impasse with the young lady. He had thrilled it all. Without success. Wait a second. Sorry for that. You never know. Is that why you call me doctor? He grasped a pen and played with a nervously wide starting at Tristan. No, to be honest, I knew Ambre would relapse again. One of my colleagues told me the other day, allegedly, your wife stopped by the hospital to do a usual dramatic routine. She ran into an intern that didn't really know how to deal with the situation. I regularly explained her case to the newbie, but between theory and practice, the poor boy meanwhile, he told her the truth while trying to sugarcoat it to make her reflect on it. She had another anxious attack. Obviously, by the time he told her to calm down, she was already gone. If it had been me, I would try to buy you some time. Anyway, what's done is done. She forsake herself from a life that would have been wonderful. Meanwhile, Ambre Mallory was cheerful, happy to chat while she grew to be another little girl of her age. The young woman was blinding deceitfully with dead eyes to her own reflection in the mirror, still stuck in that never-ending dream, free of hardship. You know what? You got a lover. Yes, yes, royal. I ever going to marry him soon. And we'll be happy until the end. Have a lot of kids, just like the fairy tale. How could it be otherwise? You're right, every day will be a celebration. If only I did not have that strange feeling. I think I've lost something important, really important, but I can't remember what it was. Land. So let me think. The story was put in a strange way, but here is what I believe the story is from my understanding. When Tristan was young, he met Ambre. She was a little girl lost, so they maybe play and there you go. She grow older and get married. When she grew older and get married, I think she wanted to be perfect in every situation. Like she wanted to be only perfect. So when she realized she could not get a child, due to that, she go mad. That's when we play the first game when we were Umbrella, that young girl who was on the park. Actually, the young girl that we were seeing was a lie. That's the way Umbrella see herself. So how was it called? Mr. Mallory, I already forget his name. I'm not good at remembering him. Mr. Mallory was just trying to repeat a cycle. So the first playthrough was that we were Umbrella. We were the way Umbrella see herself. A little girl where he finally meet Tristan. I think his name is Tristan. Mr. Mallory. We will call him Mr. Mallory for now. So due to that, we play as Ambre when she believed she was a little girl. At first, it was kind of weird, so because an old man of 30 years old married a child and everyone is okay with that. But when the game revealed itself, Ambre was 30 and Mr. Mallory was 30. So I believe that it was like that. Ambre was lonely on a park. Mr. Mallory came with her. They like each other. Maybe they play a lot in their childhood. When they grew older, they get married. Ambre wanted to be perfect and watch magazine and stuff like that. So it's basically show you how her life changed from cartoon to magazine. She wanted to be perfect. So he created the child room where all those dolls was here. It's Ambre who make this home, basically because she wanted to have a, how can I say, a child. But when she realized she could not have a child, she think she was imperfect. So she go mad and run and fall in the same park that she was when she was young. But she was when she was young. I don't know how to speak English anyway. Mr. Mallory came and redo the same cycle. So maybe he bring him to the hospital and stuff. So the first gameplay shows us how Ambre sees herself, and the second gameplay just shows us that Mr. Mallory have doing the same thing for 30 years, maybe 20 years, I don't know, because it was mentioned many times, a 30 years old man. So every time Ambre like repeat the same cycle, every time she realized she could not be perfect, go back to her childhood. It's a way like as if you are playing a game. You create your character, then you realize your character is not good, so you delete your save and restart the game all over again. Except that here it's real life. She could not do that. She is 13 years old and still believes that she is young. I mean, the story is pretty deep. At the beginning you might be confused, but the writer did well. I think it's pretty well written. Some word I don't understand and I could not pronounce, but I like the story anyway. It's captivating. So here is the stuff I wanted to say. You can't be perfect. Perfection is impossible for a human being. Even robot can't be perfect. Because you can see in both factories and stuff, machines are working every day but get broken. So you can't be perfect, and what I'm trying to say is don't fall into the trap of perfection, trying to think that you can be the perfect one. You are what you are, so if you can't get something or you can't be someone, don't try to do it. Don't also hope. I'm trying to do a stuff, but I don't know how to say it. Wait for a second. Don't try to hope too high. Don't want a hope. Damn my English. Okay, anyway, let's finish this in a beautiful way. Everyone has a dream. Everyone wants to be perfect. Everyone wants to be successful. But we all know that this is impossible. I mean, this will be hard. So if you can't do your dream, find another dream. So if you can't have a baby, you can have another solution. Maybe it's not the way. I don't know if you ever have a story like that. You dream of something, then you finally come out to see that your dream was completely a lie or broken, or you could not achieve your dream. So the thing that she lost is, I think, is her sanity. I don't know. She always say she forget something. It appeared that she lost something. So what she lost was herself. During her try to be perfect, she lost herself and lost her mind. That's a sad day. So that's pretty much it for this episode. We'll see you in the next video. Until then, raise your controller to the sky and bring the noise!